learned in school. Never mind what your parents told you. Disregard what your friends say. From now on, the only people you need to listen to are these guys. For the next several minutes, they'll take you on a journey through the political jungle. When your journey is over and you're safe at home, they promise you'll be stronger, smarter, and just plain better. So buckle up, hang on to your ears, because your journey starts now.
When it come to the law, ain't nothing understood.
Well, that's true.
And that's what Kavanaugh will have to be dealing with, right?
What?
The law, if he's appointed.
He will be appointed, and he will be dealing with the law very soon.
And he won't understand it, because when it come to the law, ain't nothing understood.
Ain't nothing understood. I wonder, something that I think he might understand.
Slander?
Is which...
Libel?
Which of the two sides of the political parties tried to screw him over. I think he'll remember that when he's trying to make when Roe v. Wade comes up for
review
for renewal
or whatever renewal. Yeah. Challenge. Again,
yeah, maybe. I mean, he said, it's the precedent, but I think at this point he's probably
screw it.
Well.
Screw the Constitution.
And let me tell you,
you're not a big fan of him over his Fourth Amendment issues.
Right? I'm not, and I would rather talk about that than any baseless allegations made against him.
Well, before we get,
we jumped right in, and you got me fired up.
I know
you got me.
You were very excited. Pre-show.
Please tell us what time it is.
I'm going to say that it's October 4th, 2018.
It's about 8 p.m. Eastern,
and that's all I'm going to say. But
daylight savings time.
To say that.
We're in New Brunswick, Maine.
Today is my daughter's birthday.
Oh.
And I wanted to wish my sweet
happy birthday,
daughter.
Jennifer. It's
Brenna.
They don't know about that one, do they?
It's Brenna. Hi, Brenna. I love you.
Oh.
It's her birthday. Jazz hands. We can't clap. Apparently that's triggering. So
I also think talking about British Sign Language as jazz hands is probably a little demeaning and triggering too.
Did I say it was sign language?
You didn't, but it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it is, but it's a dance move. That's where it comes from.
I know where it comes from.
But the Moot Society? The Moot Society uses that as
Moot? Like the society that just doesn't matter anymore?
Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. They've conceded their point. It's moot.
It's a moot society. British language is tough.
Just language. English is hard by itself.
I mean, like the real English, let alone that British English.
Oh, geez.
It gets real difficult.
Or Southern British.
Those fake Southern
English.
And sometimes you think it's Australian. You never know.
It could be London, Australia,
you never know
New York
what to say, and then you find out they're actually from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
And I don't know what I was going to say. Something.
I don't know why that's so
derogatory and
funny.
racist.
Yeah.
Or something.
Well,
what was it about New Zealand? New Zealand was doing something. Oh, they were anybody that comes into New Zealand, they're making you download your password for your phones so they can access the information on them.
New Zealand was?
Yeah, New Zealand.
Wow, because New Zealand generally has some freedom.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but not anymore.
Not anymore. Nobody has freedom anymore.
So we'll see how that affects their tourism, if at all. People are saying, "Well, I'll just get a burner phone. Just have nothing on it."
I hope people won't do that. First of all, because as much as people complain, they really like the convenience.
Right.
I mean, it's the same thing with targeted advertising. And people say, I don't want Facebook to take my data. But you actually do kind of appreciate relevant ads.
Yeah.
You would much rather see advertising from companies or organizations that you care about.
Like my adult sites. I prefer that.
Right.
Over, like shopping at a grocery store,
right.
Coupons or something.
And if it's not targeted, you'll get all sorts of stuff like on the television, which is semi-targeted. But with Facebook and, I mean, this internet thing, you can target individuals.
It's gonna catch on.
Yeah,
I think the internet's here to stay until
not long ago people thought it was a fad
until the government takes
and
over.
I think they already are.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not even on our list, and
No,
you just get me all worked up today about all these things that I'm passionate about.
Do you want to go? Do you want to follow our list somewhat, or do you want to skip around?
Well, okay. Everybody has probably heard of this news. It's been all over the place. It's super important, though. I mean, you've heard it.
We discuss on the show nothing but important issues.
Right, and this isn't.
There is no fluff. There's no spin. There's no filler on our show at odds. All there is hard-hitting truth.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying, if you've turned on any news station in the last week or several weeks, you've for sure heard about this. It's super important. It's nothing new, but we need to talk about it.
I'm on baited heels or something.
We need to be very careful because right now we have an opportunity to screw this up. And if we screw it up, make the wrong choice, and infuse robots with exaggerated, overly simplified gender stereotypes, we're really going to screw the world in the future. And we need to just really, really be careful.
How so? I mean, I don't understand.
The biggest issue, Brian, of robots, it might be subtle, but it's the biggest issue, is gender.
Oh.
And how gender biases are
not
manifested.
Like programming or anything, or sensitivity,
gender.
Or learning.
Gender.
Being sentient.
Gender.
Because
do you know how biased and horrible human beings are?
I kind of do. I'm learning that.
It turns out that when human beings, a normal human being, when they think of like a robot that's providing security, they think of something more masculine and maybe like
RoboCop?
A male stereotype
like
of
RoboCop?
a robot. But when they're thinking of a robot that might do like customer service or help you, they think of something more feminine and helpful and nice.
It's soothing.
And that's wrong.
It's grandmother.
We have an opportunity here to have genderless robots, and we're screwing it up.
The movie iRobot, they all look the same, and they were all somewhat genderless.
Can I give you I might be crazy here. I think...
So you're starting to
remove
all doubt.
I think robots, as a rule, have no gender.
I'm triggered. I am so mad at you. I'm furious. I want to kick you in the face. I mean, in your cell phone. I can't believe that you would say that robots don't have gender. How dare you, sir? How dare you assume that machines? It took me a long time. I was going through a lot of engines.
I know it did.
Machines don't have gender.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
What about sex? Do they have sex?
Goodness. Well,
I meant a biological
not
sex.
By choice.
Do robots consent to sex? I don't know. No, that's not what I meant. I meant, penises and vaginas. Do they have those? Because that's different than gender.
Look,
gender.
This is a struggle against capitalism's tendency to gender every product it can.
Well, that's kind of true. Because you know what that's called?
It sells.
It's marketing.
We're humans, and it sells. Oh, this is
we don't want to see somebody like me with my shirt off trying to sell sexy sports cars.
You know what might be most disappointing?
Could you imagine me in Cool Hand Luke washing the car when the chain gang was there?
I can imagine it.
In a pair of cut-off jeans.
I threw up a little bit in my mouth, but I can imagine it. The worst part about
if you'd like to see that, go to my YouTube channel.
The worst part
Brian washes cars.
The worst part about this article, you can find it on Wired.com. It's in the science section. And it's talking about gender of robots, and it's very annoying.
It will be an important issue because eventually robots will reproduce. You know how they're going to reproduce? Asexually.
I think they is that possible?
It's the only way.
Yeah, I guess they will. It's going to be good.
They don't have a sex. They have to reproduce asexually.
It's going to be. I mean, we already integrate with technology. We have phones and everything that we carry around. I can't wait until we physically integrate with it, and it's just part of you, and you don't have to carry a phone.
Oh, I
around.
see.
You can do all those things.
So you're looking at more of the bionics.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
bionics.
it's going to be good.
implant it in your arm or something.
All right, let's move on. It's fine.
Okay.
We made reference to this. This was good. I think it's Manchester University in England. No clapping allowed at student events, like student union type events,
and their
rallies and things like that.
Reasoning and rationale for that?
Because clapping triggers PTSD. It triggers...
Oh, because of the noise?
The noise, yep.
Here.
Oh, jeez. Well, I'm sorry about the audience, but... Well, I just... Are you... PTSD, I'm sorry for all of you that had an episode just now. Okay. And it's insensitive to the deaf students who can't hear clapping. I mean, they can see it, most of them, but they can't hear the clapping. The question was raised.
They can't hear this either, Nate.
But they can see it.
Well, yeah, and they can see clapping.
Oh, you think there's logic involved here?
Oh, that's my
Because
mistake.
the question was raised, what about the blind students?
Right.
And they said, well... That's a good question. They won't know what's going on anyway.
Why am I being hit? Is somebody do good?
Really, they said, well, it's a good question, but I think for now,
yeah.
this is the best solution we have.
Until they get sued by the blind.
So they literally, you can't see this because it's radio, and this doesn't translate well to audio.
Jazz hands.
It's jazz hands.
Yeah,
it's
you
British Sign Language for yay.
Yeah.
For clapping, I'm not for celebration.
It's become more universal for yay.
I mean, it's insane.
Well, it's the UK. They're slowly going down the toilet.
Insane. They are insane. More quickly than we are. And
Right.
that's saying something.
But we're slowly following in their footsteps.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay.
No.
What do you want to talk about now?
I have to calm down now. You do your thing.
I don't have anything.
All right, let's talk about Brett Kavanaugh. That's good. That'll calm me down. Brett Kavanaugh.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Kavanaugh.
He's Kavanaugh.
Why didn't they just... Well, they made those signs. Kavanaugh.
Oh, Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh. Why didn't they just say Kavanaugh?
Because
that's
they're
more
not very
clever. No,
clever.
They're not very clever. So where do you want to start? The FBI report? The FBI did an investigation. It came back and... according to the reports I've seen, has corroborated nothing.
Right, and so the Democrats demanded an FBI investigation, and when they got it, they are bitching because it's not enough.
As we knew.
Yeah, they just want to stall. They interviewed 9 people, I think, 7 or 9
or 10, something like that, yeah.
Somewhere in there. Under a dozen.
Including Mark Judge, who was the one person that the Democrats say, you must talk to Mark Judge.
And I don't know what he said.
He said, "No, this is insane."
Yeah,
from the reports I saw, because
they're keeping it kind of quiet.
Yeah, they are, which is interesting.
They'll have to. Well, maybe not. It's not. Is it a matter of national security? Is it non-FOIable? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question.
I would think afterwards, anyways, if he's either nominated or not, that's going to have to come out somewhere. You're talking about they could vote as of Saturday.
Saturday, yeah. So last night, Mitch McConnell moved for cloture, which is the end of debate.
Right.
That has to be
for a vote.
That has to be on the table for 24 hours, and then they can vote on that, I think, and then they can have the regular vote.
If the cloture passes.
Cloture, right. So, Saturday, it sounds like. It's weird because the Democrats agreed to a 1 week window for the FBI investigation.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they said, yes, let's do it, the Democrats said, 1 week's not long enough. And then the FBI came and turned it around in like 4 days.
Can you make it for like the day after the election?
Right. But the FBI did it in less than the week anyway, and they're like, yeah, this is good. One of the things that people are complaining about is the FBI did not interview Dr. Ford.
Or Kavanaugh. Yeah, I mean, they were interviewed by Congress.
Right. What would they say to them? They have several statements from each of them. They both were interviewed, one by a prosecutor.
But you know what Feinstein said in that regard, or one of them did.
They didn't have enough time?
No, they said, we're not professional investigators. We're not criminologists that are trained to question suspects and victims and et cetera. So all of this la-da-da doesn't mean anything because we're not professionals. We want professional law enforcement people to do these interviews.
Oh, like Miss Mitchell, the professional law enforcement interviewer that interviewed both of them?
But she even admitted that it was a stupid 5-minute setup that you really couldn't get into it.
Well, at least one of the Democrats said that too today. That we didn't have enough time. We only had 5 minutes.
Well, you know
spent
why?
4 hours and 4 minutes and 50
you
seconds
know why?
giving political statements.
Because every one of the damn Democrats spent their 4.5 minutes pontificating about how horrible Brett Kavanaugh was, and then they end up asking one stupid question.
That's a
who's their fault? Whose fault is that?
That's a very good observation.
Thank you. Even that prosecutor, that lady, said that she wouldn't prosecute.
Right. Well, she made like a 13-page
opinion piece.
Report saying no, there's not enough. She said there's not enough even for a search warrant to do more investigation, let alone press charges and convict him.
Yeah, because Ford's got squat.
Mm-hmm. And they interviewed apparently Rodriguez, was that her name? Ramirez. The other one that said
one of the accusers.
One of the other accusers, yeah.
I heard on the radio today that there's one college friends of Kavanaugh that contacted the FBI and saying that I should be interviewed because I don't think Kavanaugh should be justice because he did drink a lot in college and he threw a drink in someone's face. And are you telling me that he never blacked out? How would anybody know that they black out? Just to be clear on what that is. Blacking out is when you don't lose consciousness, but you go ahead and do things, but you have no recollection of it. So you could go a day, an hour, 20 minutes, and it's usually brought about due to heavy drinking. Alcoholics have blackouts where they could go and do something and have no recollection. So this guy's saying, well, how would he know?
Right.
Well, how about third-party observations?
Like all the other people?
Well, how about other people say, hey, Brett, you wandered down the street and went to the party store. You remember that? No. Or, like someone may have done in a hotel room one night, wake up in the morning and have stuff all disturbed and wonder if somebody came into their hotel room and realized that nobody was there but them, but they have no recollection of taking things out of drawers or doing stuff.
So you
can know.
You kind of sometimes know that there's a big block of time that you don't remember, and you weren't sleeping.
Or let's say the last thing you remember is getting in a car, and the next thing you remember is 4 days later, and you're in Tijuana,
California.
Yeah.
How did I get here? I was started in Michigan. I don't.
We're laughing, but yeah, I mean, so passing out is different than blackouts. But he didn't say that he ever saw Kavanaugh blacking out. It's just that he thinks that he drank enough that he must have blacked out. I mean, that was his argument. And the FBI sent him a form. He filled it out, but they didn't go interview him. It wasn't pertinent to the case.
There was a police report of somebody said Kavanaugh threw ice at them at a bar.
Yeah.
He said he didn't, and then that was the end of it.
Who hasn't thrown ice at somebody?
Well, I mean, whether he did or not. What does that mean?
And what does it have to do with the accusation?
Here's something I found interesting. Interesting.
I doubt it.
What? I did find it interesting.
I
found it
that
interesting.
It will be interesting.
Leland Kaiser, Dr. Ford's best friend, who says, I haven't talked to her in years and years and years and years.
Okay.
She's the one that Dr. Ford said she was there and she knows, but then Leland Kaiser said, no, I didn't know.
Yeah. I was thinking it was a guy, but I know who it is now.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was a former professional golfer.
Okay.
Some other people came out and said she can't tell the truth because when she was in high school or college, her boyfriend jumped into a pool, broke his neck, and died, so she's traumatized, PTSD. How would she have a memory of anything? Which I think is ridiculous.
That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
She was married to Bob Beckel from Fox News.
Okay.
Which I mean, just kind of interesting, the connection she had.
Okay.
She got remarried to a leadership coach.
Okay.
They're separated now,
right.
But that's where she gets her last name, Kaiser. And now she's still the executive producer of her first husband, Bob Beckel's podcast. He's a pretty well-known Fox News contributor. He used to be. I'm not sure if he is anymore. Just the connections between all of these like high-profile people is really interesting.
It's like Kevin Bacon's.
Yeah. It is. But
okay.
Dr. Ford said, I'm so sorry that she can't remember. I'm glad she's dealing with her health issues. That's
Right.
why she can't remember.
Right.
Her health issues are she had an injury and she's had back and neck surgeries.
Okay.
Nothing to do with her memory
Right.
at all. She said, her family member said she remembers everything just fine.
Yeah.
She's just trying to recover from back injuries.
Gosh, I wish I could.
Remember everything just fine? Well, you blacked out drunk so many times.
Yeah.
In Maryland, near these country clubs in the 80s.
In the 80s. I used to hang out in a lot of parties with high schoolers. Yeah, so... Oh, so that was interesting to nobody but you. All right, so...
I thought it was interesting.
There's a note here that Trump
It would be interesting
Trump
to
was
people
mocking
who
somebody.
know something, but
We're going through these too fast. We're going to run out of stuff to talk about.
I'm trying to tell stories, and you're over there going, oh, it's interesting
I'll listen to
you."
any story you want to tell.
No.
Tell me a story about Trump mocking people, because I find that hard to believe.
Don't you remember when he said, oh, I don't know what I'm doing? When he mocked that reporter with the disability? That was terrible of him.
No, I thought he was doing jazz hands. Just very, very badly doing jazz hands.
It's terrible. Well,
Maybe it was like sign language jazz hands with somebody with a speech impediment.
Trump was at a rally a couple nights ago and talked about Dr. Ford's testimony.
Yeah.
Now, tell me if you think this is mocking or a 100% accurate portrayal of the situation.
Go.
Well, Dr. Ford, where did it happen? I don't know. When did it happen? I don't know. Where was it at? I don't know. Who was there? I don't remember.
It sounds like a recap of her testimony.
It was exactly a recap. And he's getting a lot of flack because they were saying he viciously mocked her and it was horrible. And how can you mock a rape victim?
When you tell the truth to liberals, it's mocking.
It's mocking.
Right. Because
maybe
they can't handle the truth.
Maybe technically it was mocking, but from what...
Of course it was mocking, but I don't think it was untrue.
And then, I don't know where they found these backbones.
Well, I guess you could say it. Because if you made somebody... Or, I mean, if you made fun of somebody for, like, a disability... that's true.
They could be mocking.
They do have a disability. You're not saying anything
right.
But I don't think I don't care.
I mean that's the key. That's the key. I don't care, even if he was mocking her. What he said was absolutely true. There's no corroborating
evidence.
It didn't happen. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know where they're finding their backbones. But
the Republicans?
Some of the Republicans, like Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell.
I think they're starting to get a little fed up with what the left is doing.
They are. I don't know if they'll keep it up or they're just using this as an opportunity. Fine.
It is an election year.
But, I mean, Graham...
God, it's getting close.
Yeah.
It's like a month away.
Yeah. Graham went on some...
That's about 4 weeks, if I recall. 4 weeks. Go ahead. I'm sorry. It won't happen again.
I don't believe that. I feel like you're turning into me a little bit. The Atlantic Festival or Magazine Festival or something, Graham did a little interview and completely defended Trump. Said, well, not completely. Said, I don't really like that he did it because it's bad optics, I think. But everything he said was true, and it's just ridiculous. There's no evidence of, Brett Kavanaugh doing this, and it's all a sham. It's a lie. The Democrats are just using it as a political play. Mitch McConnell said a lot of similar things on the floor of the Senate yesterday, I think a little bit today, and he never does things like that, like actually calling out Democrats for lying and being deceitful and using Dr. Ford as a pawn. It's good. It's good. It feels good.
What else did Graham say?
I don't know. What are you pointing at? Oh, that's way down here. We're not there yet.
Well, but we're talking about Graham doing the interview.
Well, it's telling of the audience that he was in front of. The interviewer said, well, what Trump did was a personally disparaging attack on a person. And he said, no, you know what's personally disparaging? When you drag a $100 bill through a trailer park, you don't know what you're going to get. And everyone in the audience, oh, that's terrible. Oh, you're a horrible person. And he's like, well, No, you're just not old enough to remember. James Carville said that about the women that were accusing President Clinton with evidence of sexual assault.
Mm-hmm. In what year?
I don't. 1996.
There you go. 1996. He said that.
Probably in reference to Paula Jones,
Maybe.
who actually
Is she at
sued
Trailer Park?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't actually know about that.
What is it?
Do you think
Princess.
she would?
Trailer Park
Do you
Princess.
think she would be around the president if she was?
Yes. I think it's possible.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if she was or not, but I guess, I mean, the point is, like, these things get forgotten very quickly. Like, 96, 20 years, 22 years ago, but it wasn't that long ago, and the shoe was on the other foot, and Democrats were okay with it.
Right. That's known as hypocrisy. Hypocrisy.
Hippocampus?
It's buried deep in my hippocampus.
Indelible.
It's indelible.
In the hippocampus.
You cannot erase it.
Hey, did you see the...
I want to know what Leland Kaiser's handicap was. She was a professional golfer.
Yeah.
That was a throwback. I don't know.
The thing with being a professional golfer, so when somebody works, like, golf courses have a golf pro.
Right.
That, like, works there.
Very familiar with that.
Doesn't mean, like, they're PGA Tour golfers.
Ah. Some want to be. It's
all of them I wanted to be, but
we lived next door to the Traverse City Country Club.
You did?
Ed Karczewski. He was the golf pro for years. Mm-hmm. He played, I think, twice a day, every day that he could.
Oh yeah.
Says you don't get better if you don't play. And then when they replaced him, he ended up being their head groundskeeper as he got older and wasn't playing as much.
Well, that's cool.
So he had his whole basic career there. And
that's good.
Nice guy. Let's see. I can't get off the golf. You were a varsity golfer in high school, right?
Yeah.
That's all we're going to say about that.
That's it.
We got to play. Are we going to play before it snows?
Probably not. I mean, that's next week, isn't it?
Yeah, It's already snowed in northern Michigan.
Yeah, it's like 50 degrees outside right now. It was like 80 yesterday.
Yeah, it was really hot yesterday. That's
Michigan.
Weird.
Let's take a break.
Oh, well, okay.
Oh, geez, what?
I just wanted to say you had a trail cam up at your deer hunting spot.
I did,
and it was. I
mean, you have to admit, I have a decently comfortable blind. Here.
Very nice.
Yeah, it blends right in. It blends right in with the environment.
We're talking about your security camera on your home.
A 3-bedroom, 3-bath hunting blind.
The deer prancing down the street.
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah. He does not care. Do you know what time that was?
I don't know if you know this, Brian.
Timestamp?
I don't live in a rural area.
No, you live in a very nice subdivision. That
nice or not.
I have to go through security every time I drive into it.
I don't know why they keep letting you through the gate.
And I don't know why they keep having their guns drawn.
They open the gate for you, but...
Well, I can be charming, so that's it.
I'm working on getting them fired and replaced.
So, here are these deer prancing about your yard, and I wanted to sit there opening morning on your porch.
Yeah.
You got some rocking chairs or some lawn chairs on your porch?
Yeah.
Thought I'd sit there.
There are some nice rocking chairs out there.
You said that you were going to be sitting there.
Well, I'm going to be in the second story of my hunting blind.
Ah, that's right.
To have a good vantage point. I don't know if the neighbors across the street will appreciate it so much.
Probably better so if you're up and shooting down than me shooting across.
They might, yeah. I mean, I worry about the ricochets on the road, from the road, but other than that, I think we'll be okay.
Maybe. The thing is, we won't have to drag it far to hang it in your garage.
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah, it's bizarre. There are some wooded areas, parks and things, and there's a river not too far.
Yeah, I mean you're not in a metropolitan subdivision, but there are a lot of houses and stuff out. But white-tailed deer are everywhere.
Yeah, they're not very smart.
Well, I don't know. They seem to outsmart me every year, but that's not saying much. You want to hear a trivia question?
Yes.
More than anything?
More. than anything.
Get your little box ready there.
I do that after.
I know, but I changed it up. This is not a political question. Nice. This is a culinary. That surprised you. Right. There's too many buttons for you.
Hold on. Keep going.
Okay, so this is a culinary question, and it should be fairly easy for most people.
Listen, I give up.
You give up.
Culinary. I love food.
And you may have never had one of these kind of dishes.
Is it Polynesian?
But I have, and I rather like it.
Okay.
But I've never had the original
couscous
recipe. I love couscous. Who doesn't? Kim hates couscous. They dated for a while. And
fish don't like it.
Okay, so what is the main ingredient in a mince pie? A mince.
Not like
pie.
mint.
Not mint. Mince. Mince pie.
Mince pie.
What is the number one main ingredient in mince pie?
I know the answer.
Mrs. Mince?
Mr. Mince, but
okay.
Whatever. All right, we'll be right back.
Lock it in and rip the knob off. Red State Talk Radio.
My Parents Open Carry, a pro-gun kids book from White Feather Press. 13-year-old Brenna and her parents spend their day in typical fashion. But what's not so typical is that Brenna's parents lawfully open carry handguns for self-defense. And the Strongs join a growing number of families who are standing up for their Second Amendment right and bringing gun ownership out of the closet. Order your copy of this unique kids book at myparentsopencarry.com.
It's a bumpy ride through the political jungle with Nate and Brian.
Whenever I'm feeling a little down under, I can always count on Nate and Brian for their interesting perspective on topics important to freedom and civil rights by listening to the At Odds Show. Nate and Brian cover important topics with insight, intelligence, and of course humor. I can always expect a laugh or two. So if you want to be informed and have a great time, give these guys a listen.
At odds.
The At Odds Show with the greatest political talk show hosts in history, Nate and Brian. And it's sad that they actually believe that. So give a listen because the delusional need love too.
Are you looking for some way cool t-shirts? Check out ChugDug.com. They have hundreds of crazy fun t-shirts like gun, patriotic, and you better believe zombie shirts. At ChugDug.com, you'll find quality shirts at a quality price. All shirts start at just $10 with free shipping over $50. Mention Radio 1 coupon code at checkout and grab a cool 10% off. That's ChugDug.com. T-shirts with attitude.
Hi, I'm Brian.
And I'm Nate.
If you like the At Odds Show,
And we know you do.
why not order your very own At Odds t-shirt sizes small to 6XL in a cool black color?
So support our show. Check out the great prices at chugdug.com or head over to our website, atoddshow.com, and click the link.
And, unlike listening to our show, you won't be disappointed.
Canadians are easygoing people, but, when you rile us all up, we just go, ooh.
God, you don't want to mess with a riled
Darn
Canadians.
Those Canadians.
When Canada attacks, and they will, you gotta be
They'll
ready.
go, Okay, what was the question?
I can tell you a story about Canadians.
I don't
attack.
wanna.
Okay. What is the main ingredient of a mince pie, and we had some guesses, and we had a correct guess.
We had a lot of guesses.
Okay.
We had pie filling.
Yeah, anything you put in a pie is
we
pie
had
filling.
Blueberry juice. I don't understand that. We had
Just
meat. We
juice.
had fruit. We had pineapple.
Mead?
Meat.
Oh,
meat.
meat.
Meat is good. I love meat.
Yep.
But the answer is
dried fruits mixed with meat and spices.
wow.
Now, and it's usually like it could be apples, pears, raisins, anything like that, and it's fairly spicy. It's good. Now, originally it had meat in it, but they don't have it anymore. You know what they use now for the meaty flavor? Beef suet.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
I like suet. It's good stuff.
Work with a chef that used to take suet like that and spread it on his bread like butter.
That's cool.
And they'd salt and pepper it.
All right.
This day in history in 1927, good try, Nate. The sculpting begins on the face of Mount Rushmore in the Black Hills National Forest.
Oh, that's interesting.
In South Dakota.
That's pretty cool.
How long did it take for those guys to carve those?
17 years, and they never finished.
467 years.
And they never finished.
They didn't finish what they wanted to because the granite started faulting off.
Yeah.
They wanted to have it down to like their waists.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, it took 12 years. It's in granite. It's of which presidents, Nate?
Oh, I think Jefferson's up there.
Yes.
I think Lincoln.
Yes.
I think Roosevelt.
Which one?
Doesn't matter. And
it kind of does. Because I think if it was the one we're thinking of, they would have blown it up by now.
Theodore.
It's Theodore?
And
come on.
Is it Washington?
Yes, it's Washington.
Okay, I was couldn't remember if Trump made it on there.
At the time, they were America's most revered and beloved presidents.
That tells you something, doesn't it?
2 slave owners, a person that freed the slaves.
I meant like
one that killed animals.
How liberal were they?
Well,
moderately liberal.
Somewhat liberal. You mean classical liberal?
No, I mean like they wouldn't be part of the Democratic Party today, probably.
Theodore would have been somewhat liberal.
A little bit, maybe.
Well, Washington wasn't a Republican or a Democrat.
No, I didn't say Republican or Democrat. Okay. I said liberal.
Yeah, okay. Do you know who carved it and designed it?
No.
Gutzon Borglum. And it was a brainchild of Dwayne Robinson, who was looking for a way to bring people and tourists to his state.
Just interesting, huh?
In South Dakota.
I can't wait for the Trump Mountain. It's going to be good. He should build a Trump Tower, but just in the shape of his head. That'd be cool.
You know he had to start over because Jefferson was supposed to be where Washington was, and they switched him because Jefferson's face cracked and they blew it off with dynamite.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
He didn't like
he
that.
didn't like it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's interesting.
So Washington's face was completed in 34. Jefferson's was dedicated in 36. And Roosevelt, in attendance. He was alive.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's interesting, too.
And Lincoln wasn't alive.
Lincoln wasn't?
No.
Are you sure? Was Washington?
He was in 39.
He didn't make it? That's kind of... I don't know if I'd like that.
How much did the project cost in those dollars, and who funded it?
Okay, it was $342 million.
Okay. In those dollars, not today's dollars.
Yeah, that was those dollars.
Oh, wow.
And who funded it? The state taxpayers?
Not state. Well, not indirectly. Federal.
Okay.
Federal government, and it was $1 million.
That's not bad.
Oh.
I think it's money well spent. I think we've recouped. I personally have recouped all of the tax money I paid for it.
And the sculptor kept retouching it up until he died in 1941 of a heart attack. This day in history, 1927.
That's cool. I've
talked to people.
That was a good one.
I've talked to people who thought those were naturally occurring. They said, "Look what God did. Our country's so great," and I'm being serious, and so were they. That they thought that those sculptures were inspired and created by God, wind and erosion.
When you have thought it would have been a big Jesus head, if that was...
Well, the thing was, it was a big Vishnu head, and they, they had to get rid of that.
Boy.
Oh my God!
It was flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah, we can't have that. Let's just put presidents up instead.
All right, let's move on.
All right, let's see.
Did you see? We can talk about Ford's second door if you want, or we can just move on.
Well, no, I do want to talk about that because you know why I want to?
Well, quickly, I wanted to say, did you see the ex-boyfriend that came out and said he knows for sure that Dr. Ford once consulted her friend on how to take a polygraph test?
And the friend is claiming that never happened.
Yeah.
All right, so remember when she
But
said...
aren't we allowed to just...
say what we want?
Yeah.
So remember in her testimony, she said that in 2012, the reason she went to therapy in couples counseling was because her and her husband were remodeling their home and they were having discussion on putting a second door in the front, and she said it was claustrophobia and it was panic and all that stuff. What? Let me go. Okay, go ahead. What were...
She said they had just finished a big remodel.
Oh, I thought it was over. I thought it was during that they were...
She said they had just gone through a big remodel.
Okay. Well, that may be true, although...
And I think it wrapped up in 2010?
2008.
Started.
Yeah, and anyways, it seems that the person they bought it from was a therapist, and when asked if she was a therapist to Ford, which it looks like it was, she said, I counsel couples.
I therapied them. She said, I can't tell you because it would breach our client-therapist confidentiality.
Even though I have all these notes from some therapist.
If I told you.
We got to know who the therapist was that she was talking to in 2012, right? Or was it earlier? Anyways, the whole thing, one of the hypotheses is that the second door had nothing to do with her claustrophobia. And I'll tell you why in two reasons. I think it's probably true. Is where she lived, zoning is very tough. And it's hard to get a second living quarters that you can rent out.
Palo Alto, right?
I don't know where.
California.
I don't care. So it was tough.
It's important.
So they may have used the ruse of she needed it for claustrophobia to get around zoning and get a variance.
Maybe.
Because here's the thing, Nate. The second door is not accessible from any other part of the house.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a separate apartment.
Maybe she thought that if she was so claustrophobic, she could just bust through the wall and go out the second door. And they've rented it out to businesses. I mean, I think there's a business in there right now running.
Well, it's one thing if it were an office, I guess. That's easier or harder to get than renting it out to somebody. But anyways, it sounds like it's all BS in that it was just a way to try to get a variance for their remodel so they could house Google interns.
Interesting.
That's all I wanted to say about that.
I don't think she ever turned over...
Another nail in her bed.
I don't think she ever turned over her therapist notes, which seems like a pretty key piece of evidence from her story. And
well, I suppose, if it was criminal, it might be one thing to subpoena those. But they would be protected, I would think. I don't know.
Well, but I mean, she's made everything public. What is there?
Well, she hasn't.
Right. But she said she has.
All she's done is made accusations and has done nothing to support that it was true or not.
Right.
I'm wondering if it even did happen.
Grassley asked her attorney to provide the therapist notes, and her attorney said, we'll be happy to do that if the FBI comes to interview her.
Okay.
Seems odd, doesn't it?
It seems odd.
Weird.
What are they going to tell the FBI that,
right.
she couldn't say otherwise to help her case?
Here's something I wanted to get your take on.
Sure.
Still kind of related. I've seen a lot lately that, especially only Republican senators are being cornered and chased down in the hall, like in the Senate halls.
Yeah.
And
restaurants.
Restaurants, but that's a little different.
Yeah.
But still being harassed. I mean, Flake was cornered. He was in an elevator. They held the door, basically blocked him in the elevator and yelled at him.
Kidnapping.
Yeah, I think so. And just screamed at him and wouldn't let him go.
They stopped his progress.
Yeah, I would think so. And that seems to be, well, he said that it was touching what the woman said. That's why he kind of flip-flopped and said, I'll vote yes to move the nomination out of committee, but I want an FBI investigation.
Yeah.
He said it was because of that elevator incident.
Oh, I see.
That he was moved. I think he was actually terrified. But what I'm thinking, what do you think about it? Like, I don't know how these people are even getting in and past security and why they're allowed to continue doing what they're doing.
I think it's horrible that anybody should be in fear of their life doing their job.
Yeah.
From other people.
Yeah.
Except maybe police officers. But they know that going into it, right?
They just want to go home at night.
Yeah, I mean, they know that there's a risk. But senators aren't thinking that.
But, I mean, I can buy the argument that senators do a lot of harm to people.
They certainly can.
By the policies that they.
But I think there's a way to do it in a peaceful manner, in a more socially acceptable manner of protesting outside the buildings and outside their offices and things like that. But to trap them and stop them from moving is a kidnapping. Basically a form of kidnapping.
I actually don't think there is a way for these psycho-liberals to get what they want other than the way they're doing it.
Yeah,
I think that is the only way is violence and kidnapping.
Well, I think, isn't there a document written about rules for radicals?
Yes.
And so this is
like Saul Alinsky?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So today they were protesting in the Senate building. The last I heard, 100 people they had in custody arrested that were in the Senate building, weren't supposed to be there, yelling, holding signs, all of that stuff, including somebody you love, Amy Schumer.
Oh, yeah.
She's pretty good and popular. Yeah. Here's the weird thing, though. I saw a video, and she was there. A cop came up and said, do you want to be arrested? And she said, yes. And then he was like, okay, let's go.
Because my career
that'll
is
help
dying.
her ratings.
Yeah, my career is dying. I want to... My Netflix special didn't do so well. Well, that leads into the next thing, which is we have two things about that actually. One was in Toronto, not in the U.S., but they're doing the same tactics, and it was a pro-life rally, I think, in Toronto. So there was a large group of people that were, had banners and stuff, and were against abortion, and it was a pro-life rally, and they had a lot of, pro-choice people there. And in one situation, it was a guy, Jordan Hunt was his name, got in a heated verbal discussion with, I think it was one of the leaders of the event.
Oh.
It's Life Chain was the name of the group. But he got really upset, and very quickly, and I'm impressed with his move. You want to smack a woman, I guess. He sort of did a kung fu roundhouse kick and swept her, hit her in the face, and went right down. And she was filming.
Yep.
So it's all on video. As soon as he hit her in the face and she went down, he yelled, I meant to hit her phone. I wanted to knock her phone out of her, which is still kind of assault.
Not kind of. I mean, it is.
Okay. And now battery.
Yeah.
So the internet went crazy, and they found this guy, right? And apparently he works in a hair salon, of course.
Well, he did.
Yeah. And they fired him. Noble Studio 101. They said, we don't go for that kind of stuff, and we let him go. And the woman and the Life Chain organization has contacted the police, and a police report has been filed. She does want to press charges.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard anything up to date on whether he had been located and arrested or whether they're going to do anything.
I think he probably, though, has learned a lesson.
Maybe, yeah.
Wear a mask like the rest of Antifa.
Sure, yeah.
So you can't be so easily identified when
then run away
when you kick a woman in the face.
Yeah. Well, that's what those little cowards do. And that's what gets more infringent laws that say you can't hide your face in public.
But every video I see of them where they try to stand up to conservative protesters, they get their butts kicked.
Generally true.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Which gets us into the next section, where they had an open carry march at, of all places, Kent State.
Kent State.
For our younger listeners, Kent State University in Ohio was the scene where the National Guard shot and killed 4 or 5 students in a Vietnam protest that sort of got out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
And so they went to the same area, these open carries, and they had, all kinds of guns and rifles and flags and stuff.
Yep.
And they had a bunch of Ohio State troopers in front of them walking. There's probably 15 or 20 of them.
Yeah.
But there was a whole crap load of these Antifa scumbags protesting and blocking their way so that they couldn't march anymore. And the police are standing there and they're like, this ain't good. But who's got all the guns?
Yeah.
The police and these open carry people.
Yep.
And the lieutenant comes up to the open carry and says, listen, I can't guarantee anybody's protection, which they could never do anyway.
Never would anyway, right, yeah.
But I think, is this the hill you want to die on? Kind of, that's what he said. And I think you should, leave. I'm not telling you have to, but you should leave.
Yeah.
And there was pushing and shoving back and forth, and it got a little bit more violent, and eventually the open carriers did back down and leave. And I don't know how I feel about that. I wish they would have opened up on them and gunned them all down.
Yeah, that's not good.
Teach them a lesson.
Well, no, look, I mean, those people have a right to be there too. They don't have a right to commit violence
or block
against
your
the
progress.
police or well, I don't know. I mean, you can stand on a sidewalk. Yeah, it gets tricky.
I don't know. There's a lot of laws about you have to move on a
Yeah,
sidewalk.
There's a lot of laws that aren't just.
And it was on campus. It was university, so I don't know what they had. But,
yeah.
And it was in a road. It wasn't like on a sidewalk, so I don't know.
Do you think it's... We're hearing about it more and more. Do you think it's normal now? I mean, do you think it's
It seems to be.
But look,
and this was not uncommon, other than the open carry, this was not uncommon in the 60s when the Vietnam protesters doing this very similar tactics.
Sure.
So I've seen it before, and people my age and older have seen this before. But you don't see the one side being heavily armed and the others being just armed with baseball bats and 2x4s with nails in them.
It tells you a lot about the restraint and how the people with the guns are decent human beings.
Generally, yeah.
Because I mean, if gun owners really were murdering everybody like the left thinks,
there'd be nobody left.
Right.
Well, that's what I didn't like about it, was that the Antifa people won.
Yeah, I get
so
that.
Now they can say, hey, we stood up to a heavily armed bunch of, Nazis, and we came away, and they backed down, and it's a big victory for us.
But
I don't like that. That emboldens them.
Yeah, I get that.
So it's going to get worse and worse.
But what they need to realize, they won't, but what they need to realize is what they won was a battle of walking across campus. When it's a battle in a situation that actually means something, they're not going to win that.
No. And it's and this kind of stuff happened with civil rights too, and it gets back to the great book, The Deacons for Self-Defense.
Mm-hmm.
And really what changed the civil rights movement and got people to pay attention and got the federal government involved was when these black deacons for self-defense started shooting some of these white supremacists and these white KKK members. And they said, "Oh, these Negroes are getting uppity, and they're actually shooting white people."
That shuts them up, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, right.
So this is,
and then we end up with gun control laws.
And you end up with gun control laws, right?
The NRA, and
right.
That's where all of this starts to happen. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, we do a rally every year. We've never had
a Second Amendment march, right?
Right. We've never had.
We've been fortunate.
We've never had it.
But
even this year, when I thought there was the highest probability that something would happen, we had nothing.
We had our largest crowds. And it might be the differences that we are not projecting. Well, we did have, though, and I won't say anything. I was going to say what we don't normally do is invoke politics in the sense that we're Republican or Democrat. We embrace Republicans and Democrats.
We always do.
We
always do.
That protect the Second Amendment.
And we got some threats this year that we haven't necessarily seen in the whatever.
Yeah.
You and I are no strangers to that. But I mean, yeah.
But we did have a big Trump that trailer.
What we didn't have was Caitlin Bennett, who blew up because she took pictures with a gun, and she's been the counter of that little coward from Florida. The other high schooler.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah,
Hogg.
It's not important.
Hogg.
Right, David Hogg.
Oh, yeah,
she had some.
You're talking about the college student that posed with her gun?
Caitlin, she led the march.
She was there, yeah, right.
So there's a different dynamic.
Is that where she went to school? Was Kent
Yes.
State? Okay, I did.
So, all right, we're out of time.
Okay.
See you next week.
All right. Search and
bye-bye.
Discover.